my name is Olga Sirbu. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst and licensed behavior analyst. And in this video, I'll talk about visual and motor stereotypies in children with autism. But before we start, as always, I would like to encourage you to put a like on this video and hit the subscribe button below so you can benefit from weekly information on the subject of autism. Visual and motor stereotypies are common in children with autism spectrum disorder. Visual stereotypies refers to any instance of a person looking in the corner of their eyes or following object movements with their eyes in a repetitive and non-contextual manner. Motor stereotypies refers to any instance of a person moving his hands, body, or fingers in a repetitive and non-functional manner. Both motor and visual stereotypies have an underlying sensory aspect. Usually, a person would engage in stereotypical behavior as a way of coping with the surrounding stimuli. The repetitive movements are a way of controlling and managing sensory overload. When we are very happy, we may jump up and down. We may look for someone familiar to hug, and we may say, "Yay!" The excitement and the happiness in a child with autism that sees something that they like and enjoy may be manifested through hand flapping, repetitive movement of fingers, jumping up and down, heat of own body with a low magnitude, and verbal behavior in form of echolalia, meaning the repetition of same sounds or words. In both cases, the excitement is expressed through behaviors. The difference is that a neurotypical person has a shorter reaction and is able to balance themselves quickly, where in the case of a neurodivergent individual, the intensity, frequency, and the duration of those repetitive behavior is higher to a level that is noticeable to others. Sometimes, when we are stressed and anxious about something, we may pace back and forth. We may move our leg in a repetitive motion or tap our fingers on a table. When an individual with autism is introduced to a new environment, meets new people, or a new routine is added in their schedule, we may see repetitive body movements as well. In both instances, we as human beings are using repetitive behaviors to manage with the surrounding stimuli and cope with our emotions. Once again, the movements that a neurotypical individual is using look natural and do not make them stand out from the crowd, as in the case of neurodivergent. And the last association that I would like to mention is the free time. When some of us take a break, we may watch TV and scroll through the phone, or scroll through the phone and twirl our hair. A person with autism may be laying down on the floor and moving a car back and forward and watch the tires spin, or may watch the iPad and from time to time rub their fingers in front of their eyes. Both neurotypical and neurodivergent are engaging in these repetitive behaviors because they are offering them comfort and it gives them an internal pleasure. To summarize, the stereotypical behaviors are present in both neurotypical and neurodivergent. We all engage in behaviors that help us manage with our feelings, emotion, that help us cope with different situations and environments and get some sense of control for the instances that we have the least amount of control. The difference between a neurotypical repetitive behavior and a neurodivergent repetitive behavior is the frequency, intensity, duration, and form. So, what do we do and how do we work on a child with autism stereotypical behavior? The first suggestion and the first thing you should do is understand what is your child's stereotypy, how it looks, how often it occurs, and when is your child engaging in that behavior. Once you define your child's stereotypy and gather some information about it, you will decide how to react to the repetitive behavior. Please keep in mind that a stereotypical behavior has a strong sensory aspect, meaning that the child engages in repetitive behavior because it gives them internal pleasure. It is very hard to compete with a behavior that has a sensory function. Usually, the suggestions that I give to my clients when it comes to sensory behavior is you can interrupt the behavior when you notice it and redirect the behavior to an alternative or incompatible behavior. For example, if the child flaps their hands, you may ask the child to give you a high five, to pass you an item, carry an item, or you may offer the child a fidget toy to play with. If the child tries to manipulate the visual inputs by looking through the door cracks or looking at lights, you can interrupt the behavior and redirect it to a spinning lighting ball toy or some other toys that have lights. We cannot eliminate stereotypical behavior, and besides interrupting and redirecting, we can work on acquiring stimulus control over the behavior. For example, you can use a red light and a green light, or a red card and a green card that will indicate to the child when the child can engage in the stereotypy and when he cannot. If the child is doing homework, an art project, or any academic activity, you may place the red card on the table and inform the child that when the card is red, they are not allowed to flop their hands or rock. Once the child completes the task, you will present the child with the green card and inform the child that they are allowed to engage in hand flapping or rocking. The last strategy that I used in the past with stereotypical behavior, and it did work with children that know the concept of stop, was simply telling them stop when they were engaging in repetitive behavior, and they would immediately stop. But the response was for the moment and short. A couple of seconds later, the child would re-engage in the behavior. In conclusion, I would like every parent, therapist, caretaker to understand that we can't compete with stereotypical behavior, but we do need to acknowledge the child's needs and respond to it in a functional way. We can just stop a child from spinning without giving anything instead. The hole needs always to be filled. You take something, you give something back. That's the only way to keep balance. At the end, I would like to invite you to add your comments and questions below this video. I hope the information provided will be useful to you and your loved ones. See you in the next video.